Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Home Secretary to hold meeting on civil defence today. 244 categorized districts up to village level begin preparation. Israel Security Cabinet approves plan to capture Gaza. Also approves plan to deliver aid through private companies. US extends support even as UN and other aid agencies decree the move. Donald Trump administration freezes future grants to Harvard, demands policy changes mainly regarding anti-Semitism on the campus. All 133 Catholic Cardinals who will vote for the new Pope to begin moving into the Vatican accommodation where they will stay during the conclave on the eve of their historic secretive meeting to elect a new Pope. Amid escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, Union Home Secretary Govind Mohan has called a meeting regarding civil defence at 10:45 a.m. IST. The Chief Secretaries and heads of civil defence from across the country will participate in the meeting via video conferencing. Preparations for civil defence are being made in 244 districts of the country. As India's Home Ministry has asked several states to conduct a mock drill for effective civil defence on 7th of May, preparations for civil defence are being made in 244 categorized districts of the country. The following measures will be undertaken. 1. The operationalization of air raid warning sirens. 2. The training of civilians, including students, on civil defence aspects to protect themselves in the event of a hostile attack. Next is provision of crash blackout measures. After that, also provision for early camouflaging of the vital plants or installations. And 5th, updation of an evacuation plan and its rehearsal. In a heartwarming moment of solidarity, the city of Palmerston North in New Zealand stood still as over 150 residents from different communities, different states came together to stand against terrorism. With placards, flyers and silent prayers, the locals organized a mourning to condemn the barbaric terrorist attack in Pahalgam. Banners in hands and sorrow in hearts, this was a true show of unity against brutality and bloodshed. As tensions between India and Pakistan escalate in the wake of the Pahalgam terrorist attack, the United Nations Security Council held closed-door consultations on the current situation. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said that he understands the feelings following the awful terror attack in Pahalgam and reiterated his strong condemnation of that attack, extending his condolences to the families of the victims. He voiced concern over tensions between India and Pakistan being at their highest in years. Unlike formal sessions held in the UNSC chamber, this consultation is taking place in a separate room next to the chamber.
I once again strongly condemn that attack and extend my condolences to the families of the victims. Targeting civilians is unacceptable, and those responsible must be brought to justice through credible lawful means. It is also essential, especially at this critical hour, to avoid a military confrontation that could easily spin out of control. Now is the time for maximum restraint and stepping back from the brink. That has been my message in my ongoing outreach with both countries. Make no mistake, a military solution is no solution. And I offer my good offices to both governments in the service of peace. The United Nations stands ready to support any initiative that promotes de-escalation, diplomacy, and the renewed commitment to peace.
India has temporarily halted the flow of water from the Baghrihar Dam on the Chenab River to Pakistan. New Delhi plans to also halt the flow of water from Kishanganga Dam on the Jhelum River. The latest Indian countermeasure for the Pahalgam terror attack coincides with the publication of a Moody's ratings report, which says that Pakistan cannot afford a war with India given its dire economic situation.
India has cut the flow of water from the Chenab River to Pakistan. The gates of the Salal Dam, built in Baghlihar and Riyasi in Jammu, have been closed. It follows New Delhi's decision to keep the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance in the wake of the 22nd April Pahalgam terror attack. According to reports, the Indian government is also planning to close the Kishanganga Dam on the Jhelum River. The flow of water in the Chenab River has since drastically reduced. The latest Indian countermeasure coincides with a Moody's report that says Pakistan does not have the money for a war with India. The global ratings firm says that a persistent increase in tensions could also impair Pakistan's access to external financing and pressure its foreign exchange reserves, which remain well below what is required to meet its external debt payment needs for the next few years. In contrast, Moody's says that India's macroeconomic conditions would be stable, bolstered by moderating but still high levels of growth and strong public investment and healthy private consumption. Meanwhile, Pakistan hosted Iran's foreign minister on Monday. An Iranian diplomat was reported as saying that the India-Pakistan tensions would be on the agenda of Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi's talks in Islamabad. Araghchi is expected to visit New Delhi later this week. Bureau Report, DD India.
While Pakistan is flexing its muscles, testing missiles and making tall claims of war preparedness, the reality is otherwise. India's retaliatory steps in the aftermath of Pahalgam terror attack have threatened the backbone of a limping Pakistani economy. Ban on Pakistani ships, imports and postal services have dealt a big blow to Pakistan's economy, which is already in shambles. In the next report, DD India's Raghav Kumar Jha delves deeper into Pakistan's economic crisis and tells you why Pakistan cannot afford a war with India.
Struggling with a wrecked economy, Pakistan faces significant challenges like rising poverty, high inflation, and persistent debt issues. The country's economy has been badly impacted by factors like the COVID-19 pandemic, inflation, poor economic development, corruption, political unrest, and the effects of Russia-Ukraine war. According to reports, Pakistan has foreign exchange reserves of only $13.15 billion, whereas it has to pay foreign debts of $26 billion in the financial year 2025-26. Pakistan's GDP is at $338.37 billion and it has only enough money to import goods for 2 months. In fact, Pakistan's economy is in shambles. A persistently high current account deficit and external debt obligations drained its foreign exchange reserves. By 2023, the country faced a severe balance of payment crisis, with reserves falling below $4 billion, enough for just a few weeks of imports. Pakistan is heavily reliant on external aid, particularly from the United States, China, and the international financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund or IMF. Pakistan's exports base remained narrow while imports grew consistently. Periodic IMF bailouts, more than 20 programs since 1980s, became a hallmark of Pakistan's economic policy. Each bailout brought temporary stability, but structural reforms were either delayed or diluted due to corruption. However, this is not the end of Pakistan's economic woes. The tougher times are ahead as India's retaliatory steps in the aftermath of Pahalgam terror attack threaten to break its crucial economic support links. India has imposed a blanket ban on direct or indirect import and transit of all goods originating in or exported from Pakistan following the closure of the Wagah-Atari trade route. The halt is likely to disrupt Pakistan's pharmaceutical, chemical, and food sectors, which depend heavily on Indian inputs. Informal trade via third countries like the UAE and Singapore will also come under strain due to heightened security and costs. India has barred all ships bearing the Pakistani flag from entering Indian ports and has suspended all maritime activities. Also, all postal and courier services in Pakistan stand suspended. Against this backdrop, the global rating agency Moody's has also warned Pakistan. The rating agency said on Monday that a sustained escalation in tensions with India would likely hit Pakistan's economy and hamper the government's ongoing fiscal consolidation. It warned the Indo-Pak tensions could impair Pakistan's access to external financing and put foreign exchange reserves, which is significantly low to meet existing debts, under severe stress. Amidst an economic crisis ridden by low reserves and high debts, Pakistan is running the country taking loans from the IMF. On May 9th, a crucial meeting of the IMF will be held regarding the next tranche of loan disbursal to Pakistan. According to reports, there are multiple factors including corruption and allegations of state-sponsored terrorism which may spoil Pakistan's loan prospect, in which case it will be another blow to the debt-ridden Pakistan. Against this backdrop, if Pakistan wages war with India, it will have to spend an estimated $1.5 to $3.2 million per day or $45 to $96 million per month, putting considerable pressure on Pakistan's defense budget of $7.64 billion. Amidst all this, how Pakistan will handle all this extraordinary stress on its economy is $1 million question. Raghav Kumar Jha for DD India.
At least 3 people died and 9 others, including 2 children, were missing after a small boat capsized in the choppy seas off the California coast north of San Diego. The small boat capsized in choppy seas off the California coast in a suspected migrant smuggling attempt. Some of the boat's occupants were from India. 4 survivors were transported to hospitals and 2 other people suspected to be smugglers were found on a nearby beach and they were detained by authorities. The Consulate General of India in San Francisco has condoled the loss of lives of the Indians in the tragedy. In a tweet, it said, and I quote, "An Indian family is also affected in this tragedy. While 2 Indian children are missing, the parents are undergoing treatment at Scripps Memorial Hospital. The consulate is providing all necessary assistance to the affected Indian family in coordination with the local authorities. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims of this tragedy." You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, we tell you how Bolivia faces a colossal garbage disposal crisis, even as the conflict over waste disposal enters the 2nd consecutive week. Addressing the governor's business session at the 58th ADB annual meeting, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman chronicles India's growth story and the vision for Viksit Bharat 2047. And celebrities dazzle at the fashion's biggest night of the year, Met Gala.
Goa, a wild nature paradise, where over a third of the state remains wild today, and every corner is full of surprises. Goa's forests evolve through the seasons. Insects and crocodiles flourish in the monsoon, butterflies in the months after the rains subside, and in the winter, the jungle transforms into a haven for birds. Oh, there's a female right next to him. Oh my God, is that 8 otters? That's one of my favorite things about these forests. There are still so many secrets out there. Watch postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. The Trump administration has announced that Harvard University will be barred from receiving any new federal research grants until it complies with a set of demands laid out by the White House. The move represents the latest salvo from a Trump administration willing to use the power of the federal purse to force institutions from law firms to universities to make sweeping policy changes or else lose billions of dollars in federal grants and contracts. Trump has targeted Harvard over allegations of anti-Semitism on campus during the pro-Palestinian protests. The protests were sparked by U.S. ally Israel's military assault on Gaza after the October 2023 attack on Israel by Hamas. In recent weeks, the administration began a formal review into nearly $9 billion in federal funding for Harvard, demanded the university ban diversity, equity and inclusion practices and crack down on some pro-Palestinian groups and mosques in protests. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is in the U.S. for a high-stakes meeting with Donald Trump as the American president continues his trade war and annexation threats against Canada. The White House visit comes just a week after Carney led the Liberals to their fourth consecutive election victory. The U.S. and Canada have been locked in a dispute over automotive and other tariffs imposed by Trump. Carney has termed the U.S. actions as a betrayal and says Canada must reduce its reliance on the United States, which takes 75% of all Canadian exports. The talks are also expected to focus on creating new security and defense ties. Ahead of the meeting, Trump has said that he was unsure why Canadian Prime Minister was coming to see him, but said, I guess he wants to make a deal.
What's your expectation for your meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister tomorrow?
I don't know. He's coming to see me. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does. They all want to make a deal because we have something that they all want.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order on Monday that aims to reduce the time it takes to approve pharmaceutical plants in the country as part of new regulations to encourage domestic manufacturing. Trump signed the order during an event in the Oval Office in which he also told reporters that he would make announcements in the coming weeks on the cost of drugs as well as pharmaceutical tariffs. Last month, the Trump administration launched probes into imports of pharmaceuticals and semiconductors as it looks to impose tariffs on both sectors on ground. Also on Monday, Trump signed an order that bans federal funding for gain-of-function research that typically enhances pathogens. Israel has approved an expanded military operation in Gaza, aiming to displace most of its 2.4 million residents amid the ongoing conflict with Hamas. The plan, which involves full territorial conquest, has drawn global concern, especially from the United Nations, warning of a worsening humanitarian crisis. A senior Israeli official confirmed the operation includes a large-scale evacuation and a voluntary transfer program for the civilians. Israel says the operation is essential to defeat Hamas and secure hostage releases. Israel also plans to control humanitarian aid to prevent Hamas from accessing supplies. Far-right ministers have pushed for using aid only to promote Palestinian immigration, prompting acquisition of political blackmail from Hamas.
The operation will include a broad attack, including the evacuation of the most of the population of the Gaza Strip. This is in the order to protect them away from Hamas.
Meanwhile, Israel has said that before expanding its operation in Gaza, it will allow a window for a hostage deal during a visit by U.S. President Donald Trump to West Asia. The U.S. President is due to visit Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates from May 13th to 15th. Let's get to updates on Russia-Ukraine crisis. Now, tensions have escalated between the two countries as Russian officials announced that their air defense units destroyed a swarm of Ukrainian drones targeting Moscow for the second night in a row, prompting the closure of the capital's airports. Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said that at least 19 Ukrainian drones were destroyed on their approach to Moscow from different directions. On Tuesday, Russia's air defense units destroyed 4 Ukrainian drones on their approach to Moscow, with no damage or injuries reported. Ukraine says its drone attacks are aimed at destroying infrastructure key to Moscow's overall war efforts and are in response to Russia's continued assault on Ukrainian territory, including residential areas and energy infrastructure. Bolivia's Cochabamba city is struggling with piles of uncollected garbage as the region enters its second consecutive week of conflict over waste disposal on Monday. The municipal landfill, Cara Cara, has closed its doors, leaving the city without options for waste disposal. The municipality had set up another emergency dump in the neighboring municipality of Colsa-Piroa, but the residents blocked it, leaving the city with no options. While some residents try to cope up with the garbage and foul odors, others, like school-going like local school mothers have blocked the nearby streets to urge authorities to address the trash problem, citing health risks for children. All the 133 Catholic cardinals eligible to vote for next pope have arrived in Rome ahead of the conclave starting Wednesday. These leaders from 70 countries are engaged in discussions on key church matters before they enter the Sistine Chapel. The process follows strict secrecy, with ballots burned after each vote. Black smoke will indicate no decision, while white smoke will signify the selection of a new pope, while some frontrunners such as Italian Cardinal Pietro Parolin and Filipino Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle have been named. Many cardinals remain undecided on who will lead the church forward. The conclave, steeped in centuries-old tradition, could last for days or even weeks. The world watches as Catholic leaders take on their historic responsibility in shaping the church's future. India's Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister Nirmala Sitharaman met ADB President Masato Kanda and Italian Finance Minister Giancarlo Giorgetti and talked about the initiatives India is taking to foster economic growth. In a meeting with Masato Kanda during the 58th ADB annual meeting in Milan, the Finance Minister reiterated that India focuses on private sector-led economic growth and has been consistently creating a conducive policy ecosystem through bold initiatives. She also is leading the Indian delegation of officials from the Finance Ministry to attend the 58th annual meeting of the Board of Governors of the Asian Development Bank that is taking place in Milan, Italy till May 7th. Addressing the Governor's business session at the 58th ADB annual meeting in Milan, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman emphasized on India's growth story and vision for Viksit Bharat 2047. She also endorsed ADB's attributes are crucial in our collective journey towards a prosperous, inclusive, resilient and sustainable Asia and Pacific. Let's talk of sports now. Sunrisers Hyderabad's IPL playoff hopes ended after their match against Delhi Capitals was abandoned due to heavy rain at the Rajiv Gandhi Stadium on Monday. Hyderabad's pace attack, led by Pat Cummins, restricted Delhi Capitals to 133 for 7 in the first innings before rain forced officials to call off the game, with both teams sharing a point each. Delhi remained in contention for a top 4 spot with 13 points from 11 games, while Sunrisers' campaign effectively ended with just 7 points from their 11 matches. The abandonment marked a disappointing season for Sunrisers Hyderabad, who failed to replicate their successful batting performance from 2024 when they reached the final. Although before the rain interruption, Hyderabad displayed impressive bowling performance and appeared on course for their 4th victory of the season. The rain-affected match denied Hyderabad the opportunity to chase the modest target, forcing them to settle for a shared point and ending their playoff aspirations. Multiple Olympic swimming champion Gary Hall Jr. received replicas of his 10 Olympic medals after the originals were destroyed during the Los Angeles wildfires in January. The medals were presented to him by International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach during a ceremony at the IOC headquarters in Lausanne. Hall represented the United States at the 1996, 2000 and 2004 Olympics, winning 5 golds, 3 silvers and 2 bronze medals. The 50-year-old was forced to leave the medals behind at his home during the fires which tore through the Los Angeles area. Italy's tennis world number 1 Yannick Sinner will return to action this week following the 3-month doping ban. His first opponent on his return from a 3-month doping ban in the Italian Open could be compatriot Federico Sinner. Sinner has been given a bye into the second round, where he awaits the winner of 18-year-old Sinner's match with Argentine Mariano Navon. The 3-time Grand Slam champion was banned after he twice tested positive for traces of cluster ball in March last year. WADA accepted that Sinner did not gain any competitive advantage from the banned substance and he bore no fault for an accidental contamination. As the Met Gala 2025 kicked off, a slew of dazzling stars hit the red carpet at New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. The exhibition showcased historical and contemporary garments and accessories, as well as drawings, prints, paintings and photographs that have shaped the understanding of black identities and experiences. This year's theme, Superfine, Tailoring Black Style, examines black dandyism from the 18th century to the present.
Right here.
All right, that's it in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.